Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Stewart Mandel with Sports Illustrated's Experts Corner. What player am I most excited to watch in one of the BCS Bowls? It's got to be Jordan Lynch from Northern Illinois, just because he hasn't played on a stage like this before. Certainly there's a lot of great superstars playing in these games, but this is the first chance to see a guy who finished one spot behind Johnny Manziel on the total offense list nationally, who's set records for 100-yard games, has run for 1,700 yards plus as a quarterback, going up against one of the best defenses in the country in Florida State. It's going to be a really fascinating opportunity to see him on this stage at the Orange Bowl. Can Kansas State slow down Oregon's offense in the Fiesta Bowl? I think they can. You know, people might be hesitant to say that after the rout by Baylor, who also runs a similarly fast offense, but keep in mind Kansas State plays these kind of hurry-up offenses almost every week in the Big 12. Did a great job shutting down teams like West Virginia and Oklahoma. Oregon does it a little differently. I don't think necessarily Kansas State will do what Stanford did and hold them to 2 touchdowns, but I certainly wouldn't expect Oregon to roll, put up the 40, 50 kind of point output that you see them do against the Pac-12. This is a better defense, a talented defense that Kansas State has. Who will win the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl between TCU and Michigan State? I got to go with the Horned Frogs. You know, Gary Patterson's team plays outstanding defense once again this season. They're going against a Michigan State team that has a star running back in Le'Veon Bell. But TCU, Gary Patterson, that's his thing over the years. They're great at stopping the run, and they don't have to worry so much about the pass with Michigan State unless their quarterback, Andrew Maxwell, has some sort of breakout game. They've been very one-dimensional this season. I think TCU is well-suited to shut them down and win what might be a kind of a low-scoring Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. Do I think Notre Dame can beat Alabama in the national championship game? I certainly wouldn't favor them, but yes, absolutely they can. When people think defense, they tend to think Alabama, but you know what? Statistically, Notre Dame's defense has been better this season. They've been absolutely dominant. I think they can shut down that Alabama running game that looks so good in the SEC championship game against Georgia. And then it just comes down to whether their freshman quarterback, Everett Golson, can handle the big stage. His counterpart, A.J. McCarron, has played in games like these. He played in the national championship last year. We don't know what to expect from Golson on this stage. But Notre Dame's defense with Manti Te'o and those guys, they've been so dominant all season, there's no reason to think they can't keep them in this game as well. Which non-BCS bowl game is going to be the most exciting to watch? I think without question the Cotton Bowl between Oklahoma and Texas A&M. It's going to be a chance to get to see the freshman phenom, Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel, on a big stage against an Oklahoma team that quite frankly is not great on defense. I think he can have a big game against them, but I also think, don't forget about the 4-year starter, Landry Jones, Oklahoma's all-time passing leader, the Big 12's all-time passing leader. He's going up against an A&M defense that has been shaky at times. It could be quite the shootout. It's 2 top 10 quality teams going against each other, which quite frankly we're not going to see in most of the BCS bowls. So the Cotton Bowl, I think, will be even better than quite a few of the BCS games. What was the best game I covered this year? You know, early on it was the USC-Stanford game. That stuck for a while, but the season ended with the best game I've covered, not just this year, but in several years, the SEC Championship between Alabama and Georgia. It had a little bit of everything. First of all, the national championship was on the line for both teams. You had some great running backs in that game, Lacey and Yeldon for Alabama, Todd Gurley for Georgia. It came right down to the last second. It came down to, basically the clock running out on Georgia on what could have been a touchdown drive that would have put them in the national championship game. I've covered 6 or 7 SEC title games, including others where teams advanced to the national championship. That was the most intense and the most filled with momentum swings of any game that I've certainly covered there, and any game I've covered in the last several years.